And I'm just going to
Great.
do a test again of this. Hello, what's your husband's name? Is it Steve?
You know
Steven?
what? You know
Scott.
what? Everybody says Steve when they can't remember his name is Scott. Go figure. That is like an international thing. We've seen it on TV shows.
Wow.
So,
Yeah,
Well,
you
you
know
need to do
what?
some research on this. Natasha, can you research that?
Yeah, you know what I was just going to say? I don't have to research it because if people are going to get my name wrong, they call me Vanessa reliably. Yeah.
Vanessa.
I turn into Cindy.
Really?
Wow.
That's interesting.
But not
Cindy
as often
and
as
Vanessa,
Scott.
it's so nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
I'm Murray.
Murray.
I get Murray. The other one I get is Warwick. In loud places,
See?
you know, when I was young and we're dancing away, they go, "What's your name?" I go, "What, Murray?" And they go, "Warwick." And I'm like, well, "How do you get Warwick?" But
I do have a theory that I could
Oh.
probably rely on, which is the psychology of language. And well, I have to say it's from my undergrad, so I have to like scratch back into my memory. But I believe that we sort of discreetly store different sounds and categories in our brain. So I think that Vanessa is probably stored near Natasha, and similarly Steve and Scott and maybe Warwick and Maury are somewhere stored like together. So Cindy, Christine.
I like it.
Wow.
Potentially.
You'll get a $1 million grant to just go record people, ask them to remember, show them pictures, and just say a name, and then you show them the picture again and ask them, do you remember this person's name that I just showed you? And then if they go, I'm not sure, it's like, well, just say the first name or two that come into your mind, because obviously he isn't probably not Veronica, or you would have really remembered it. And it's like, well, I think he said Steve, you know, or whatever, and just mix it in and have, you know, control groups. And I'm sure, I mean, there is money given for all sorts of research. Why do the caterpillars crawl up the tree instead of around it? You know, it's like, this is.
You're onto some amazing subjects, Cindy.
You two are crisp and clear. It's morning. And I was melting here. And I'm like, I better turn on the air conditioning because it's gotten really stuffy in the house. And I was doing this as I thought I was going to get something done ahead of time. And it was, I sent an email and then it turns out it didn't go to that person. I was so glad because I was consoling them in a grieving moment. And my words were just, there were a few words where I was like, it looks like you don't even care. Like I just sat down and slapped out some words and sent it to them. So I was glad it didn't go to them. They were emailing from something that didn't work. So I sent it directly to them, made sure it was all nice. I'm like, turn on the air conditioning. You've got company coming, and it's you two. You know, I'm just going to say it out loud right now. You are both in Australia. You are both on my radar because of my years of being hired as a caregiver in people's houses. Like I would meet their family and their neighbors and their GP and whoever. And some of the people, it was only weeks. And some of the people, I spent several Christmases with them and all in between. And so I'm just always looking for people who are willing to talk about anything in the aging, the caring, longevity, ageism, mental health, geriatric this, disparity, just anything in that category. And I keep trying to find something that couldn't possibly have anything to do with continuous living. And there's very few that would affect that era of life, because if you are 99 and you don't even take aspirin, that is very different than a person who has just turned 55 and is already going, what devices do I need to keep my mobility? So you can't say, well, that's for old people, or this is the way they are, because they are as much individual at after typical retirement as if you said, well, everyone who's 41 is always this way. You're like, good luck trying to cram people into that little definition. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to getting to know you. Maury, did you ask, is it Natasha or Natasha?
Oh, I answered to both.
Okay.
Depends on
Did
where
you?
her name is stored in your brain,
Yeah,
apparently.
that's right.
Right.
Phonetics.
There's lots of things I forget. And I
There we
did
go.
say, probably on my last show, if there's something you need forgetting, just tell it to me and I'll forget it for you. You know, I'll do it for you.
That's very kind of you.
Did you suggest her? Did you say, hey, let's get her in here?
Me?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember. I think I might have said Professor Li-Fei Low that I knew. And then her name is probably closely stored to Natasha
Maybe.
Niven, and that's what you came up with. I'm just going with that theory because I trust
Maybe I
Natasha.
just scrolled through Australia. Ooh, I'll try her.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I know
And I
Li-Fei
said-
from Sydney Uni. I've met her before.
Yeah, I was going to ask if you knew.
Yeah.
So Li-Fei's a very good friend and colleague of mine, and did the SMILE study, which is where the study came to show that if you went in and engaged and related with people, that you would in fact reduce agitation levels. Go figure. So Li-Fei wrote that study to show that what they call humor therapy actually could do something. It didn't show a reduction in depression levels. I don't know that was measured. It was measured, but I don't know that there was anything of significance. But that work came out of the clown doctor's work. So it was a clown doctor, elder clown study. So I know Li-Fei Low through that. And then when I did the window therapy thing, we brought together, Li-Fei and I, and Jessica Keneally is another one, brought together the group called the Outside In Collective, who were doing similar work. And I shared the idea of window therapy with the group. And so we were trying to bring the outside in during COVID, so bringing that world back into people. So Li-Fei Low and I are very good friends and colleagues, yeah. And you're at Neura. Is it Neura? Is that what it's called? The gut thing? At Randwick? Is it Randwick?
In Randwick at UNSW. I was working there with Cara Nancy for some time. I'm in two different kind of research roles at the moment. I'm now at the School of Population Health, researching aging in the prisoner population. And I'm also researching. I'm also a research assistant with the Inspector of Custodial Services because I guess of that research. So yeah, I'm doing a few roles. And then on the weekends, I write about aging and attitudes to aging in my blog, and sometimes do the markets with I have a range called Edgy Elders, a very small, fun range.
Yeah, I read that. So glad you introduced us, Christine, because I'm there are so many people out there, and you just. Yeah, thank you, Christine, because you don't. Yeah. That's why I joined LinkedIn, because I'm not looking for work. I've got too much work. I'm trying to offload some. I'm here to connect with people, and like minds and meet influencers and decision makers, and that's what's happened, and I've met you, Christine, through this. So it's great to meet you, Natasha, and I will definitely try and catch up. But I used to go to the Neura building because I think Henry Bradati's part of that. And I used to go in, and there was a wonderful, charismatic, charming woman that used to be on the front desk. And I explained to her one day that, look, I just came here because I like the building and I like the cafe, and I just wanted to be around people doing work on the brain. And she used to let me in. She would just give me a pass, and I'd go up to the cafe because she knew the work I was doing. And so I used to just go up there and mingle and hopefully meet someone and talk about brains, which happened.
They do a lot of great work. There. Yeah, I have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'd not seen inside the brain. I'm working outside of the brain. So to see inside it was really interesting.
I haven't had a chance to look at brains per se, because I know they do have a brain bank. So I was currently researching kind of attitudes to, aging and stigma, ageism, things like that. Yeah.
So what are you working on, Christine? What are you doing? What's going on there?
I really have to get after myself because I showed up. I'd like to get into at least a few it has to be different. It can't just be something that I've already been to. It's got to be different subjects. So I see that Steve Gurney is going to have a Zoom group thing. And I never know if we're all going to be on there and if it's going to be interactive, like interrupt kind of interactive, or if we're all going to be kind of pushed off to the side and then brought in later after his speaker. And here, talking on some subject that is related, because he's doing the same thing. Tell me something that I don't know about aging, that, an issue, an enrichment, something that you provide. And I'm like, that's what my premise was 2 years ago when I didn't really know what else was out there. And I just brought up a subject saying, wow, there ought to be, some guide for writing a resume after years of caregiving. So one gal, 10 years of caregiving from stroke to the passing, and was trying to connect with and help others and find someone out there, because it was pretty much 24/7 for 10 years. And so she's just going great guns. I'm like, there needs to be a guide to writing a resume if you want to re-enter the sort of work that you were doing up to that moment. And he, but I'm over here just sticking it in the chat column. I'm not saying it out loud. And he's like, oh, we've got to get you on here to talk about that. And I'm like, no, I'm not the experts. What am I doing? I'm finding experts and asking them, hey, let's collaborate. Let's collaborate on a little thing. And he has allowed groups to come in and talk about a subject. And I'm just like, help. If I'm really going to show up there, I need backup. So this one gal posted something along those lines, and I talked to her, and she's like giving me this, set of questions to answer. And I'm like, you're making me think. I need to be able to answer these questions before I rope someone in on something. So she truly is an expert in that area. And I'm just going, I know that the work I did was valuable because these families were being charged money. And they didn't question that it was valuable because they were using my time, but I was also trained. And I also had a med tech, a scheduler, and a nurse, a supervisor that were all, invisibly with me. So they knew what they were paying for. So why would someone think, well, all I did was take care of my mom until she passed, when you could say, I managed this. I was recognized as a support group leader. I navigated the Medicare, Medicaid system, things, I coordinated the people who came in during hours when I couldn't be there. And here's a manager going, oh, I've been trying to teach these skills to people that I hired because they came in so highly recommended, but they really didn't have experience. This resume shows me, or CV, is it CV in Australia?
Both, I think. Go by both.
Yeah. This person already knows how to be diplomatic, how to listen, how to explain things well. Oh my goodness, I might have to make them, my personal assistant or vice president of the whatever section, because they've already got it together, and also to give that person who's been a caregiver the opportunity to go, I kind of lost myself in all this because it was very emotional. But it turns out I'm walking out with some strength, give them the script to be able to say, these are the things that I've done just in the past 10 years, instead of, oh, I was just a caregiver, because people have said that to me. It's like, don't say, oh, I'm just a caregiver. I'm not even a CNA. And it's like, don't you say that. You've walked in and kept people not only alive, but kicking, having fun, feeling like, woo, I can't wait till you come back again, and instead of feeling like, oh, here comes the invader again, just that. So what have I been doing? Okay, I'll just show these right now. I wrote this. It was just going to be a LinkedIn article
I
about
have
an
seen that on there. You're right.
actually putting things into a container of your choice, things that are going to be a way that, especially solo agers, whatever that might mean, a person who wants to be able to handle their own grief in a really healthy way. It's like, if I put this into my container, then I can go to that instead of maybe going to something that's unhealthy or that doesn't allow me to sink in and just be in that grief and recognize that I deserve to sorrow at this moment. But this is something that's good for me, even if it's a gift certificate to go somewhere. So I just explain a lot about different kinds of grieving and different aspects of your life that maybe you want to get the flywheel turning again. And it's really skinny and short. So it's so doable. It's just totally a practical guide of put it together this way, choose the spot where you want it, and then I relate it to people grieving that their loved one is drifting away from them in dementia. And also, if you are the person who knows, I will not be around very much longer. And that just worked out beautifully for a woman at a library conference that my husband and I were both able to attend, like behind the table with our books out there. And a lady came up to me and she just looked me straight in the eyes. She's a librarian. And she's just going, first she looked down and she said, I need this for my kids. And obviously her kids were adults. I mean, I could tell that she was more my age. And she said, I need this for my kids because I've already gotten all the treatments I can get. So I came out from behind the table and we just talked for a while. And then I thought, I'm going to ask her something different right now. I said, what do you do? And that's when she said, oh, I'm a librarian. And I was so glad that she is living her life, but she's also wanting to give a book, a librarian wanting to give a book to her kids as part of her final and lasts, herself. And I just did not expect that the imaginary person that I was writing about in one of the tiny chapters, that I would actually meet a person like that. And it would be a person who loves books. And I'm just like, wow. My other one was during my years, I kept writing little notes to myself, kind of like, remember this as I age, remember these things. So I wrote down 52 of them. I thought I need to stop at 52 because that's enough for 1 year. So it's different things like, here's the flop method. I've got it flopped open. So I call this controlling interest. And it just has to do with things like, I don't communicate about finances because it leaves me feeling vulnerable. So an aging person who says, I've never had to answer my children or my siblings or whatever about how I'm doing my finances. I don't want to, but I know at this point I might not be available to make decisions on my own. So this is how I feel about it. And I wrote it as kind of a workbook because I was an educator, so that people could circle things, cross things out, make little notes off to the side. And I encourage them to reward themselves. I have faced a typical general aspect of aging Why does this have to change? Why do I have to start telling people all my little secrets that I proudly kept to myself and took care of myself now, and how I would like for that to turn out better? So I call it emotional intelligence and relational resilience. So you asked me what I'm doing. That's enough of that. My husband has those in on the screen, but because this is a recording and it will be live, simulated live on July 10th, you will both be asleep, or at least you better be, because it's going to be like 3 or 4 in the morning. It will go out during my usual showtime when I would talk with people and people can put things in the chat column. So that's when I will take those links that you gave me. That's when I will put that in, but it'll be in the chat. It'll be me in the chat column and greeting people that come to the show, because we all agreed that we wanted to do this at a humane time. I'm not going to volunteer to be a guest at 4 in the morning either.
It is very hard, this whole worldwide gathering of things. Should we pretend that there are questions? And look at that question there.
Steve Scott, it's one of them.
Steve's asking, why is he wearing a blue beanie? I have no idea.
Because it's winter,
it's
Maury.
Next to my brown one in my drawer. It's like my brain.
I know, when she came on with that warm sweater, I went, holy bully. It's that's so fun. Hemispheres.
I normally have gloves on and I couldn't find them this morning, so I'm sitting here. It's cold. It's been a bit cold here.
I'm going to get you guys back to brain. Hemispheres of the sphere we live on. I only do that because there is really no up or down, I don't think, except in conjunction with where the sun is. But
I
hemispheres,
like you just
hemispheres
live on
of the
parts
brain.
Of it.
What did you want to say, Natasha?
Oh, sorry, Christine.
Yeah,
I was just going to say I love how you've kind of used your education background to put in practical steps to the experiences of caregiving as well. That's fantastic how you've kind of rolled that cumulative experience and knowledge into something that you wanted to give back, kind of thing. I like that.
Yeah, they do come together. There have been other people who are going, I do this now, but I used to be a classroom teacher. And I'm like, we want to give understanding to someone else. We want them to be able to take it and use it elsewhere. Get to the point where a student can explain something, is able to pass it along to someone else. It's like, oh, I have been successful.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time, I think, in this sector, well, in all sectors, I guess, but and very soon I'm about to do some training with an organization, their entire leisure lifestyle team. But it's really, it's really important to give, everyone wants practical steps. They want to know how it works. And I think we do spend a lot of time talking about mission and talking about blue sky, which is important. I really believe is important. Yeah. But it's really important to come back to the basics. And I think that's what an educator brings. And it's a really good point you asked, you mentioned, Natasha, because I have a bit of an educator's brain, but my brain is a bit melded with lots of things. But I do appreciate, that we really do need to bring practical tips to people so that they can do this themselves. I mean, I'd really love it if I wasn't needed, if my job wasn't needed to engage people creatively in long-term or residential aged care. I would really like it if I was done out of a job. And so how do we teach people these things? That's my obsession now.
Yeah, I think that there's something to be said, Maury, for, like you said, that blue sky thinking, innovation, creativity, but really at the end of the day, like, that doesn't get you like one foot in front of the other to get things done. So combining the two is ideal. And I know, even just sort of, my daughter's sort of in her 20s. She just turned 20 this year, and she is at uni, and then sometimes there's got a lot going on, work, moving apartments, house, all that kind of stuff, and things can become overwhelming. And I know sometimes when we just sit down and put practical steps in place, that brings the big emotions into some kind of like calm. And so similarly, when you have a little guide or just something to kind of ground you in practical steps, putting one foot in front of the other, it's especially navigating through the transitions that happen later in life. I mean, we do tend to psychologically cope better with big changes in later life, but these are really big transitions of, illness and death and all that kind of stuff. So I think, Christine, what you're offering is a really fantastic gift.
Yeah. I'm just going to let you know that I'm taking notes because I've got somebody here, and I occasionally write stuff down. So just let me know when
I've been taking notes too. My Post-it notes.
Oh, very good. Yeah, I'm just like, I have to watch the replay again. I'm going to catch so much more. I'm going to think that you said you were talking about that when you said this, and then I'll go back and, oh no, it's just worth it to go through something again with someone. I just have like a immediate question. Maury, you said something about open the doors. What?
Yes, I did.
My imagination went, is it about this? And then there was 2030 was also part of that. Is that right?
Correct.
I did not Google it. So
good.
Do you know what that's about, Natasha?
I sure do. I got asked by some very beautiful and wonderful people that I describe as heavy hitters in the aged care sector. And there's a whole string of them that you will find out. Nicole Smith, Dr. Rodney Gillick, Monique Pochran, Rhiannon Tui, Aaron Richardson, Josephine Tite in Canada, Elisa Owen Rogers in New Zealand, and Sonal, I'm just remembering everybody, Cigar. And we came together because we feel that we know what needs to happen in aged care and dementia care. We know what we need to do, and it's not happening. And people are dying at the latter part of their lives, lonely and in grief and sad. And that's not okay. And despite best intentions of the sector, we're not getting any closer. And I think that the institutional model has a lot to answer for. And I think we know that, I'm walking it's my tightrope to walk when I say this, because I work for institutionalized care organizations, but the institutionalized model is not working. And so Open the Doors came about because it's not so much about, there's a beautiful quote here. The secret of change is to focus all of your energy, not on fighting the old, but building the new. So this is not about throwing rocks at institutionalized care. It's about saying, have we considered redoing this properly? So by 2030, we're saying, look, this is enough. Government's not driving this. The sector's not driving what needs to happen. By 2030, we want to see change, and we're going to figure out how we can contribute to that change. So it's a movement. It's a movement of passion, and it's a movement of respect and wanting dignity for our elders. And I use the term elders, and we're talking about terminology recently, and there is no term that encompasses everyone, because there are elders who feel they're not elder, they got young onset dementia, but and then there's people that have Parkinson's that don't have dementia. There are many that have Parkinson's without dementia that don't relate to people talking about dementia care. So it's meant to be all inclusive, and we're struggling with these terms. And I just mention that because I use the term elder when I speak about people I work with, because they may have stroke or motor neuron disease or complex care needs. So to answer your question, Christine, we want to see change by 2030, and we're just going to make it happen. And we're bringing together, it's part revolution, part resource, is how Nicole described it. So, for example, Nicole and Rodney down in Community Homes Australia had a gentleman who wanted to take a chainsaw. He lives with young onset dementia, and he wanted a chainsaw to cut a tree down that was over the driveway. And so they went, okay, how do we manage that? Instead of just going, no, that's too risky, they figured out how they would manage that risk. Mm-hmm. And he did it with assistance, with the gardener, with other people. He wasn't just given a chainsaw, but they managed it with everyone involved successfully. And the feeling of purpose, which is what we're talking about, our people living in aged care are referred to often as consumers, which is a terrible word, because you're like my good GP, Dr. Ken that cares, says, they're not people, they're not just empty vessels to pour care into. So if we consume, we're no longer participating. And if we're not participating, there is no purpose. And if there is no purpose in life, then there isn't a life. Anyway, that's what Open the Doors is setting about to do, not throwing rocks, bringing everyone together, looking at good work, and creating a hub of like minds, of change makers and shape shifters. And I think my time is up on the soapbox.
That sounds really exciting, Maury.
It's so exciting. I am tired, wired, and inspired. I took 2 weeks off, and poor Dr. Ken here, my flatmate, is looking at me going, you've got to take care of yourself. But I am so charged at this movement. And I've been working on it a lot.
I love the kind of enablement attitude around like the dignity of risk for people who, you know, are living with, whether it's a disability or dementia, because like you said, you know, we can't just sort of treat people who require support as consumers. They're people that want to live their life to the best that they can, and we need to fill those gaps where we can, so they can still have some autonomy and do the activities that they want. And I think that you're right. Although our health, you know, system has its strengths, I think one of the big issues is that, you know, because of I suppose the funding model, and, you know, they use the term person-centered care a lot, but I don't feel like the funding model supports the notion of person-centered care. I think it's a little bit of these are the policies and this is what we'll fund within these funding streams and codes. And it's a little bit like, okay, we've done that and now it's set and forget. They're not thinking about the sort of individualized needs necessarily. You know, I mean, I know overall, I think Australia has quite a good, you know, health system, but I think when it comes to older people and aging, I think we know from things like the Royal Commission that there's a lot left to be desired, and I think the work you're doing is really great.
Thank you. And it's important that I just add that, so with you know, with that risk that I just talked about, that will go onto the resource. There's a website coming, and that will be shared. So it's also about sharing, not hiding IP from others. It's about what are we all doing out there and sharing it. And so that risk management that they used for that will be on that website, and we ask others to share their risk management, so that people, Christine, you know, aren't going like, we can't do this, you know, say, well, hang on, Nicole and Rodney did it down in Canberra. Let's have a look at how they did it. So there's a resource there. So it's just about pulling everyone together that's doing stuff that's valuable, that's meaningful, and giving them a platform, giving them a megaphone, you know, and to shout their message out. My role in all this is, obviously I have opinions, but we've got this chats with caring creatives, which I've sent you a link to. So I interview Rhiannon Tui and I, the wonderful Rhiannon Tui. She's incredible. She handles the grants for Community Homes Australia. She and I interview creatives about their work. They're working therapeutically in the aged care space, and we're just beginning that. So that's the clip that I supplied to you. It's our teaser, and now we've got the mammoth task of editing down these creative minds, you know, 90 minutes of footage down to 15, because as you can tell, creatives like me, we talk in monologues.
That's all right.
That's what's going on. I'm a creative, and I can just
You are creative.
fill space with my mouth. Tired, wired, inspired jumped out at me. I champion the person who listened, the individual who listened to another individual who said, if I had a chainsaw, I could take care of this problem. And responded with, let's see how we can manage that. True of any human being who says, I see my purpose in this, my abilities, I see an accomplishment that will benefit others. Of course, you need somebody to manage it. The chainsaw has to have fuel in it. It's not up to you to go strike oil. There's someone that's helping you out all along the way.
Yeah.
We're almost never completely autonomous. I would like to hand to you the name James Lee. I know that he does think
So
tanks.
is this our homework? Are you giving us homework?
Yes.
Look at us both.
You're an
writing
educator. You're
down.
giving us okay, hang on,
Next
miss.
week, when you come back to class, be on time.
Time.
None of this. I
anything about
couldn't
time.
find the classroom. And different color beanie next time. James
The
Lee
brown one.
does think tanks. He has started, or he's in charge of, he can tell you, a place called Bella Groves.
Oh,
And I believe
yes, I saw this. Keep talking, miss.
okay. Think tanks. What you're talking about. Rodney Gillick was on this show, Aspects of Aging, a few weeks ago with Dr. Rose Jowdy.
Oh.
So we back and forthing in that. You're naming all these names. I don't know what they look like, but I feel like I can already see them because you've gotten together and you've said other people can sit and complain. We are picking up the tools and figuring out what ain't broke and how we can duct tape and put this together so that by 2030, we've got a good date to aim for. This is different. And people go, there was another way. So I have visited Bella Groves.
Wow.
We were a gal that's written about, and she provides in-person opportunities to learn how to be a family member to your family member who has now been placed in a place like Bella Groves. How do I approach them? How do I handle when they go, I want to go home? Or how do I handle when they go,
yeah,
this is my best friend now, this person who gives me what I want, or whatever, or just how to visit them so that you both have what you need from that visit, because it's up to me, since I want the visit to go well, it's up to me to learn what's my part in this. So she and I both went in there. It's in Texas. I think it's Bull Verde. It is north of San Antonio, but it's in Texas. And we got to hear this wonderful person who's in charge of the engagement talk about circadian rhythms.
Oh, yeah.
This is a memory care place. I will tell you honestly that part of our tour included a group of people. They were sitting at a table. They happened to be women, but there was no, men, women, whoever want to be over here. They were using sewing machines to put together a quilt. And I looked around and talked to people at the table. And what I was told, well, first of all, I couldn't tell the difference between the people who had come in on their own steam or had been brought in and slept there. I couldn't tell the difference in the way that they responded to things, the way that they were dressed, because they came over to the table if they wanted to. And we're just interacting with all of them. And they apply a lot of effort to find any group doing anything. Again, purpose, it's for everyone. Anything in the community at any ages to come in and do what they were going to do over at so-and-so's house or in their church fellowship hall or whatever, and do it there instead, and know that there would be others doing it with them. So what are you putting together? What are you investigating? What are you having a discussion about? Come and do it here. And I was just like, and they go, and they can't wait. They're like, when do we get to come back? So it isn't us and them. It's just, I couldn't tell the difference
Wow.
between the people who drove there and the people who were driven there some time back.
Mhm.
It was just, and another thing she said was the kitchen is always going to be staffed by a person 24/7 because they're hungry now and they would like to make their own sandwich. They would like to bake their own cookies. So that person is going to manage that with them, not on a schedule that only fits, the usual thing. And the last thing was, she said, there's a gentleman who just likes to lay down on the sofa and stretch out, just like he always did after work, and take a nap. And we do not shoo him away to his room. The pictures on the wall are their family pictures. They're like, we're taking down the things that look like they're in the hotel lobby, and we're putting up their family pictures so that it's so homey, not, I don't know, homey upgraded for the front of a magazine, so that it's so homey that when people walk in, they feel, family members or friends, when they come in, they just feel like, I like where you live, instead of this is a nice facility, or it's very clean and sterile. So I'm just, I don't know how this would all work out or how it will help, but I'm glad that you've heard of it.
I feel like it
I'd heard of it. Have you heard of it, Natasha?
No, I haven't, but I feel like it sounds very like, inclusive with more of a relaxed approach, but at the same time attunement, because you kind of need to be attuned to sort of what people are wanting to do and have that. Sounds a bit like an enablement type model. I remember doing some research once where I was sort of trying to interview people living with dementia just about some of their experiences. And one person who I interviewed had some mild cognitive impairment following a stroke, but she also had a lot of physical impairment. And she said that her carers, one of them in particular was a physio that she really liked working with because of the mindset, because this sort of mindset that physios and OTs start with is sort of this strength-based enablement, sort of improvements, but not like hard taskmaster type improvements. Like they're just sort of helping you keep that mindset and on the goal of, kind of growth and improvement. And I think that a growth mindset in a supported way helps an individual kind of feel like all of us, whether we're living with any kind of impairment or not, that we're just kind of striving forward for our life. I think that's what keeps us striving forward. But I feel like aged care, and you touched on that institutional kind of vibe, where sometimes we kind of think, well, we've done those tasks to care for them at these set hours and we've ticked those boxes kind of thing. And I think mindset and attunement could, as simple as they are, can play a really important role, perhaps.
Wow. You just said sorry, Christine, to jump in, but you just said two words that really struck and me and I use a lot. Attunement is what I'm seeking in my one-on-one sessions, because I work one-on-one is what I'm doing, working with people that are socially withdrawn and refusing to or not embracing social interactions opportunities, for whatever reason that may be, and they may live with dementia and cognitive decline, or they may not. And one of the things I'm seeking is attunement. And I've thought a lot about it. There's a music therapist here called Hayley Antipas who really solidified that thought for me. But it's like when we dance with someone, when you do and we don't do a lot of partner dances in our generation. I come from disco, you just do it on your own. But when you dance with someone and it's really you're moving and you're in sync, that's attunement. It's a wonderful thing. And there's a clip I've supplied, Christine, I think with Laurel, that you may show, and you can see the attunement there, where it's not just the music, but she's reading social cues. She's finding words that she normally won't find. She's using phrases which she never uses, and she's alive. and she's in rhythm. She's changing the rhythm throughout the clip. You see different songs. That's attunement. But the other beautiful word you used too was growth. You know, there was an old buddy of mine that used to do this work, and he introduced me to the Eden alternatives, the domains of well-being. And one of them was growth. And I was trying to figure out, what does he mean growth, you know, in aged care? Like, what does that mean? And you just touched on that enablement, that we forget that growth in us as people is what keeps us alive and going. And we seem to have this attitude that that doesn't need to happen in older age.
Yeah.
And that's the moment when it really needs to happen. And that's the moment where, when it's taken away, there's no attunement, there's no purpose, there's no meaning. So anyway, that was my view on that. I talked a lot about that with one of the founders, Michael Page, who you should have on your program, Christine, if I'm allowed to say that.
Michael Page.
Michael Page, he's a nurse practitioner. He did some amazing work in opening the doors years ago in a memory support unit, where they opened the doors and they realized they weren't going to keep people living with dementia segregated, and they worked out how to do that, and he enabled the staff, and he's done some great work. So he's one of the founders of Open the Doors. But I love that you said those words, Natasha. They really
yeah, well,
Natasha, did you say OT, like occupational therapist?
Yeah, sort of. I think occupational therapy, physiotherapy, you know, they do have that sort of mindset that they're always looking to help people with whether it's mobility or strength, and they start from a strength base in their approach. And so this woman who was a stroke survivor was just sharing that helped her the most because of the mindset.
The mindset, yes, the medical mindset that comes up often, that there could be a medical person who thinks more in terms of, you're not going to have growth anymore. There is not going to be change. There won't be dynamics. You won't be expanding. Everything is collapsing and narrowing, you know, and here's this person going, oh my goodness, am I quoting your thing, Alive Inside, or is that somebody else's movie? Alive Inside.
Alive Inside, that's Dan Cohen.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like, I'm in here. You know, if I could, I would go and be in James Lee's, one of his think tanks, and I would give, you know, and you were, Natasha, I'm pointing to you on my screen. Natasha, were giving that person a platform and a microphone in your interaction. Not really, but metaphorically, you were just like, here it is. Here's your moment. Spotlight is on. Audience is ready. What do you have to contribute? And it's like, that carer made a difference in me, because they were always looking for how I could do something differently, and maybe a physical goal that I could meet, or a measure of independence that I could hurdle, you know. And it's like, yes, I'm going forward. People aren't just looking at me and just going, look at that long list of never will do that again. You know?
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
we are nearing the end. I want to make sure you guys know that I'm going to go zip, and I'm going to make sure that you even speak, if you just want to say the names of books you've written, or you know, things that you're looking forward to, or a conference you're going to do, or anything. I'm going to zip it and let you two finish out here. And then I'll start doing this, and you'll be like, oh, I guess she's leaving.
Maury, you go first.
No, I was going to say, you go first. I've done a lot of talking.
Oh, well, look, I haven't got any books to promote yet. Maybe watch this space if there's time. But I do have a blog that I blog about attitudes to aging, and aging and transformation, and aging and social connection, and so on. And it's called Mobilizing Wisdom, which sort of denotes the idea that all experiences are valuable, and we tend to cumulatively transform these through the transitions of our of our life if we sort of shine our own sort of spotlight on that, the way that you have done, Christine. And then from that also, I sort of started a little, I guess, online store, but I also go to the markets and sell a brand called Edgy Elders. Just, it's a cheeky pushback on age stereotypes, and sort of some of the slogans have a bit of a cheeky pushback. So yeah, I welcome people to perhaps come and check out my website, and I might see you at the markets, because I also do Edgy Elders at the Blue Mountains markets, Paddington markets occasionally. So yeah, and just to say thanks so much for this great conversation.
Okay, are these slogans on T-shirts or bumper stickers?
They're on T-shirts and sort of tote bags that you go shopping with, or coffee mugs, or aprons, things that you can sort of have hanging around the house and start having a conversation about attitudes to aging.
Oh, right. So age positive and age do not count me out, buddy.
Right. Right.
Okay, can you quote some of your favorites? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I can, but they're sort of like, there's a bit of a cheeky, like, rude word in there, so I won't. But it's about like not giving too many, as we get older, too many bleeps.
Now we're curious.
Just like, stop shooting all over me when people want to tell you, like, it's like, stop shooting all over me.
Yeah.
So, they're double cheeky, huh? Okay.
Yeah, they're double cheeky.
I'm going to come to your market. I'm going to buy some.
Yeah. Great. You're welcome to.
That's so. Yeah, I'll come down. I'll check it out. I do need to go and see Lee Fay, so maybe we can meet up. I just wanted to share that I would love people to look at the Open the Doors LinkedIn page, and I know you're going to supply those links, and join. It's for everybody. And one of the things I didn't say, it's also a place for people that don't yet feel they have the confidence to question what is, and when they can see what could be. Some people don't feel ready or enabled to do that, and this is a place where you can come and meet people that are saying it, and where we can all learn from each other. And I think one of the important things for us to remember is, when we have a microphone and we have a way to speak out, we need to also share that microphone. So we want, and we need to learn, because sometimes, as an educator, Christine, we know, and of course Natasha would know too, that sometimes we know what the steps are, but we forget how we took them when we first began the journey. And so, mentorship and those things are very important to the group. And there's some wonderful leadership stuff happening. And as I said, Michael Page and Nicole will certainly be looking at change making and care culture change. I just also want to thank you for the opportunity to come and join in. And I love your energy and your vitality. And I just love that, you bring people together. And now I know Natasha, I'm going to stalk her stall and find out about her and read her blog. Because that's what it's about, isn't it, Christine? It's about introducing people to everyone else. And, I've got a phone too, but I have it off, miss, because we're in class.
Right. No, I mean, take a selfie with her and she can be holding, with
can we do one
like
now?
A blurry spot on it.
We could do one now, but I don't have it in my Edgy Elders.
No, when you go to the market, then, make sure you post
too late,
out.
I just did it.
Oh, my favorite thing that you just said in all of that, even as much as I'm all about care, aging, longevity, positive, blah, 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 is that you said mentoring. And I was going to ask you, are you putting in a component of teaching, training, raising people up? Of course you are, because you want to be out of a job. You want to get to the point where people look and go, why is that statue in that spot? Well, this is where old ways of taking care of people challenged by whatever conditions, injuries, numbers of years, whatever. That is the man who tore down and opened the doors and issued in a new era. It's like, people used to do that. Yes. It was
Yeah.
during the dark ages when people only had things like this too. Yeah.
Mm.
So
That'd be a
we
great thing,
look
actually,
forward
wouldn't
to
that
that.
be?
We look forward to
Mm.
that.
I
whole-
think the statue would need, there's 12 of us, like the 12 disciples. There's 12 of us in this. And Natasha, maybe we could commission you to do a T-shirt. Just because I
Yeah.
don't feel, Christine, the statue's going to really happen in, well, it doesn't happen in your lifetime. That's the sad thing about statues. You don't, well, some do, don't they? I've just said something that's not true. Spoiler alert.
Dictators make sure that the statues are up even before, they
You
probably
calling
have
me a
already
dictator?
purchased them or something. Yeah, you're not dictating. You are leading the way. You're blazing the trail. You've got out the machetes and the whatevers to say
Chainsaws.
this is the way. The chainsaws. There we go.
Yeah.
That's what I'll
The
remember about
chainsaw
this
of
one.
change.
This was
There
the
you go. There's our
chainsaw.
T-shirt.
The chainsaw.
The chainsaw of change.
Oh no. Thank you
And-
so much for giving us all those things. Everyone watch this space. Natasha says that she might put out a book. Yay. Oh, Natasha, have fun cleaning your house and all that cathartic stuff. It's Saturday. And Maury, are you just going to hang out with Ken?
I'm actually being deserted by Ken, and I'm going with my daughter, my 12-year-old daughter Marley, for her soccer photos, which is going to happen in an hour or two, and then she's going to fly off to Europe for a month with her mum. So it's our last day together, and then I will sit back and I will watch movies and I will drink some red wine.
Is this her first
Enjoy.
flight? First time she's been on? No.
No,
Alone?
she's been before. Her mum's from the UK, so we used to go over quite a lot to see the family. So, but this is the first flight without me being part of the team, so, yeah. It's a big thing for all of us, I think.
Okay, she'll call as soon as she gets there.
She will, and I've told her that I can't wait to sit with her and hear about all the amazing things that she's experienced, not to focus on missing Dad, but to look at the world and take it all in.
Wow. Okay, she'll look great in her soccer photos because she'll be able to see you and she'll be smiling.
Yeah.
I have really enjoyed getting together with you again, meeting Natasha for the first time, knowing that you two have now all these different connections to pursue. Go forth and be phenomenal like you always do. Thank you, folks.
I love it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.